there, people of the internet. I was talking to somebody and this guy was a elderly guy, a wealthy guy, and a gun guy, and oh boy, that definitely brings out a good mix whenever it comes to the types of people that you want to keep inside of your circle. But we were talking about 1911's, and we were talking about our favorite 1911's. And, well, I wouldn't call this my favorite 1911. As a matter of fact, I might make a video on my favorite 1911's. That's definitely getting put onto the list of things to make. But this right is a Rock Island Armory 1911, and I just so happened to have this with me at the time. And I was like, yeah, this right is one of my 1911's. It's a budget 1911. It sends 45 ACP downrange. I mean, it's got basic military GI style sights. It's got, you know, non-textured wood hand grips on it. Beaver tail's comfortable. The trigger pull probably about 5 pounds. Not all that great for a 1911, but definitely not as bad as some of the other things out there on the market. Single stack, 45 ACP. I like the bluing on these magazines. I mean, this right here, for the amount of money that you're spending on 1911, this right is actually a really decent quality 1911. But this elderly guy that I was hanging out with, he just kind of like laughed at me. He was like, alright, let me show you a 1911. And he goes over and he picks up this engraved, like gold engraved box. It was like, it's you know how with handguns you get like the hard plastic boxes? This wasn't hard plastic. This was a like black and gold wooden box that he picks up off of his shelf and he brings it over to me. And he opens that up and the inside is this gorgeous, it was a Wilson Combat 1911. And my God, it made me weak at the knees. I didn't even want to touch this thing. It was a blue finish, but it had like, I don't know if it was silver, it looked silver, but it had like silver engravings all along it. And it had these white ivory grips on it, and it was like overwhelmingly gorgeous. And I didn't want to put my fingerprints on it, and I was thinking he was just showing me and I wasn't allowed to touch it. But yeah, he picked it up and he like handed it right to me, and I was like, can I really? And he sets it in my hands, and I feel like this little peasant holding Excalibur, and I'm like, oh, oh, that was a gorgeous 1911. But this guy tells me that he buys high quality stuff, and he will not even remotely begin to look at like budget tier stuff. Like for example, this Rock Island Armory 1911. As a matter of fact, whenever I had this, I don't even think that he bothered holding it. Like I brought it in, and I think I offered it for him to hold. Like I think I was like, here you go ahead and check it out. And that's whenever he laughed at me and went to grab his Wilson Combat. It was quite the experience. It's a little windy out here, guys. I'm sorry about that. But he told me he wants to get, you know, the best quality stuff that he can get because he wants things that will last. And a lot of these budget tier stuff, I mean, yes, these things right here will last for, hell, my lifetime and your lifetime. But he wants things that will like last generations. He wants the top quality stuff that he can possibly get his hands on. And with the Wilson Combat, obviously with all that fancy engraving and whatnot, there's more of a art piece than an actual go-to durable firearm. I imagine that it probably will be plenty durable being made by Wilson Combat. But with how shiny it was and the engravings and whatnot and how he kept it stored, I'm doubtful that he shot that thing, and I'm certain that it was basically just a display piece. Could be wrong, don't know, didn't ask. But he told me he wants the best of the best. And he wants the best of the best because it will last, not only, you know, through the test of time, but in the event that you're in a situation where you have to use something to be able to defend yourself, then you want to make sure that your firearm is going to be 100% reliable every single time. And a lot of these budget guns, yes, they can be extremely reliable. However, quality control means luck of the draw with these budget ones. And I have had some budget 1911s that simply aren't as reliable as other ones. Typically, Rock Island Armory is a pretty good, reliable system. They make some pretty good quality 1911s for the amount of money that you spend. But they're also not the absolute bottom of the barrel cheapest 1911s that you can find on the market. There's that wind. I'm trying to take cover behind this tree, and it's kind of working a little bit. And as long as you got, I mean, if you get yourself a budget gun, as long as you've got enough time on it to know that the gun is well broken in and that you're using ammunition that that particular handgun is going to like, then by all means you can go ahead and use that to defend your life if you felt like it. However, if I was getting like a bottom of the barrel budget gun, like there's a lot of polymer framed handguns out there that are like really bottom of the barrel and do not cost a whole lot of money, and they require a good break-in period. Like, for example, those Sky pistols, SCCY pistols. I've seen some of those that work very, very well, and I've seen some of those that barely work at all. It's all a matter of the luck of the draw with the particular handgun that you get in. At the price point that those are being sold at, quality control is, of course, going to be less. So if I was going to rely on something like that to save my life, I would absolutely run the absolute hell out of it until it becomes reliable, and I'll figure out what kind of ammo it does and does not like. I'm stepping on brass cases here and it's getting into my shoe, but I will figure out what it does and does not like. And in order for me to decide to myself that I can rely on that particular handgun, I'll probably shove enough ammo through it to have spent more money on a better quality handgun. For example, I wouldn't do this, but I would if I have to. I would feel more comfortable getting like a Glock 19 fresh out of the box and relying on that brand new weapon to save my life if I needed to, as opposed to getting like a Sky pistol fresh out of the box and relying on that brand new weapon to save my life. I imagine the Glock will probably function a lot better, but it is a more expensive handgun. You could get like 3 Glocks, or you could get like 3 Sky pistols for every 1 Glock. And that's what this guy was going for. He wanted like absolute certainty that what he was using was going to work. And he wanted it to be extremely durable. I noticed that with his handguns, he didn't have, my goodness, I noticed with his handguns, he didn't have any polymer framed handguns at all. They were all steel framed handguns, and that's because he is the kind of guy to push towards durability. Now, Glocks and other polymer framed handguns, they can be very durable, and I mean, they are very durable, but I have seen several Glocks, especially with the magazines not inserted to where the magazine well is not supported. I've seen several of those plastic frames crack, and I've seen some get chewed by animals, and I've seen some melt because they were put on a surface that was too hot. That would not happen with steel frames. So granted, a Glock will handle most of what it is that you're wanting to go for, but this was just the type of guy to like decide that investing more into something that he is going to be positive he can rely on was just that's just the kind of guy that he is. Now, I'm the kind of guy to spend most of my time collecting, you know, things to use at the range and have fun with and whatnot. That's why I have this Rock Island Armory 1911. I wouldn't rely on this as a practical firearm. I have my practicality stuff. I don't show that off on the YouTube channel. But for the most part, I collect a lot of like old school military surplus and whatnot, like this right here, for example. This is a Yugo 2447. But because I collect these old school military surplus firearms, a lot of the old school military surplus is actually pretty damn decent quality. There are some exceptions out there. Sometimes it was not all that great. But the amount of money that you're spending on these old school milsurps, the quality of rifle you're getting as a result dramatically outweighs the price point of most of what it is that you're going to be buying. So I also like buying quality, I guess, but my version of quality is a little bit different. Simply because I'm getting these old milsurps specifically for like history and whatnot, and because I want rifles that shoot a specific caliber. But that's just how I am, I guess. Ow, 45 ACP hurts. Come on, baby. The sun's not shining and I can't really see my steel target down there all that well. I definitely have to paint that thing. It's a gray target against a gray background. There we go. I kind of know where it's at, so I'm just shooting in that general area. Alright, I think I figured out where it's at. Yeah, I'd say that's probably good. But yeah, this right here, it's been reliable in the time that I've had it. I picked it up used. If you're getting yourself a used handgun, you definitely want to run it, because odds are that person sold it for a reason. Either they needed money, or maybe it wasn't reliable. So you definitely want to use your used handgun to see how reliable that used handgun is going to be, especially if you're going to be relying on it for any real length of time. But I wanted to go ahead and just share this story because it was definitely something that caught me off guard. And I was like, yeah, no, normally when people buy things, they will buy like one really good, really practical thing, and then they'll get a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff. Well, this dude was not interested in the miscellaneous stuff, and he was only interested in like the best of the best, like the best things that he could do. Like his definition, we were talking about ARs after we were done talking about the 1911's, and his definition of a budget AR was Daniel Defense, and that is a really good AR platform, and definitely not a budget AR. But that was his definition of a budget AR. He was like, yeah, if I go out to the range and I just grab something I don't care about, I got a whole stockpile of Daniel Defense ARs for me and my buddies when we go out to the range. And I'm like, alright, so those are the things that you don't care about. See, if I had a Daniel Defense rifle, that would be like my high-end AR, like, don't scratch this, but it's also durable enough to defend your life with and probably survive the end of the world with. The Daniel Defense is definitely something that is what I would consider top tier. But this guy was like, yeah, that's just the garbage that I take out to the range. No big deal at all. But it was a fun story, and I wanted to come tell you guys this fun story. I definitely had fun with that situation. It was a good time. Maybe I can convince him to let me get some of that stuff out here on the channel. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He watches my videos sometimes, so hey, maybe wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Wilson Combat, maybe? I doubt it. I doubt that. Maybe even get some, maybe get some photos of it. Maybe I'll do that next time I'm around. Anyway, folks, I'm rambling at this point. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below. Link to all sorts of stuff. Go ahead and go check that out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you all on the next episode. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.